Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Talking Weather. Let's turn the old video off there. Done. All right, good to see you. Mark Sudduth here, Thursday now, the fourth day of December 2025. Appreciate you joining in for another edition of Talking Weather. Got a good one today. Hopefully, they're all good as we learn this and find our identity with this program. This is only the fourth episode, and we're learning things and trying different things, and it'll just hopefully keep getting better and better and more informative. And today, very excited once we get to the segment, um, what we call the Throwback Thursday segment. I know that's a thing already on social media, um, and we're going to do that here. Yeah, just making sure I'm looking at my monitor over here on the phone. The Throwback Thursday for today, I'm very excited about. That is my point. All right, well, let's get on with it. Take a look at what we've got with the current weather scene out there. And by the way, I learned that no matter what I do, I'm always going to be in the upper right-hand corner unless I get some special software or whatever. I tried to do the presenter thing where I would be down sort of off to the left a little bit and sort of green screened, and it works on regular Zoom. So, like if I had a Zoom meeting with a bunch of people, it would work that way, but it won't stream that way to YouTube. And I don't understand why that is, but oh well. Anyway, welcome to Talking Weather. Let's see what we got out there. Get my telestrator up and running for today. Pull it down a little bit. And what do we got here? We use the old yellow. So, more on the map today, just a little bit more in the way of active weather. Winter weather advisories here through parts of the southern plains, a smattering of different advisories through the Rockies, and very cold in southeast Arizona. These would be your freeze advisories, frost and freeze, that kind of thing. Winter weather advisories in parts of North Carolina and Virginia, and of course, downwind from some of the lakes. So let's just zoom in on some of these areas and see what's going on. First, in New York, one of my favorite areas for especially lake effect snow. Not so much lake effect snow today, there will be some of it, but these snow squalls that are going to be coming through. We have a snow squall warning, and these are a really big deal. And you see it says right here, a dangerous snow squall was located along a line extending from near Genesee to near Marionville, moving southeast at 35. And the deal is that these are intense bursts of heavy snow, gusty winds leading to blowing snow, and rapidly falling visibility. That is why these are such a problem. So let's fire up the radar scope here off my desktop and let's move up here to the area where that snow squall warning is. There it is. That's the polygon for it. Now let's find the closest radar. This is in Pennsylvania, and it doesn't look like much, right? You look at that and you think, that doesn't look like much, but it is snow. And I know there's different radar depictions that show snow better. Let's put this into motion. You can see it evolving there. Some of that energy coming right off of Lake Erie, well to the south and east of Buffalo and the Dunkirk area in Erie, Pennsylvania. It's too bad we couldn't get CJ to head up there and cover this. That would have been pretty amazing and dangerous, honestly. But yeah, that's a snow squall. And again, it looks, rather innocuous there on radar, but it is anything but. And you think about the road network that's coming through here out of Mansfield over to, what is that, Coudersport, something like that, running right through there. I don't know what particular highway that is. It's not labeled on here, but that's really, really problematic. And these snow squalls are a big deal. And it is really good to see that the Weather Service over the last few years is putting these advisories and warnings out for them, because you can get big time pileups. And again, it's that really quick drop in visibility that it can be the biggest danger with these snow squalls. So there you go. We got one of those happening up there in the Pennsylvania area. Elsewhere, though, some lake effect. Again, snows triggering the winter weather advisory. Farther to the south, though, in Virginia and parts of North Carolina, winter weather advisory for what is anticipated, especially tomorrow. And they have a nice animated weather graphic here, the weather story. And they're expecting 1 to 2 inches in parts of northern North Carolina, 2 to 3 the farther west you go towards the mountains. Let's just zoom in, if I can, on that graphic. There we go. That's better. So, yeah, looking at a winter weather advisory for the area in their county warning area. This is coming out of the Blacksburg, Virginia Weather Forecast Office. Totals have increased with snow of 1 to 4 inches. A narrow band of heavy snow could cause the totals to increase even more. And it does dip down some of this into my state of North Carolina. There's Reedsville, and this gets out of the county warning area for North Carolina just a little bit, but we'll scooch south in a minute and I'll show you. Mount Airy, and isn't that where um, the Andy Griffith show was like based upon or whatever? Isn't that where anyway, I thought it was Mount Airy. Um, that it was like shot in or based on or something like that. Whatever. Easily distracted am I. Boone, 2 to 3 inches, home of Appalachian State University. And then up in the mountains near Blacksburg and vicinity, 2 to 3 inches as well. And I know you folks up in the Northeast are like, come on, 2 to 3 inches of snow, those are rookie numbers, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is far enough south that it can be problematic. Um, it's not like it's snowing in Florida again. That's very problematic. But yes, 1 to 2 inches. You got the interstate system up there. When is it going to happen? Looking like, and this is cool, just showing the different start times. So going into the overnight hours would be this area. I kind of wish they would delineate it just a little bit better with this gradient system. So I'll help you. So this area that I'm circling now in the blue, arrival time around midnight tonight. And then between midnight and 3 a.m. is this area. And then beyond the 6 a.m. time frame, morning rush hour, yay, is that sort of pink color there. And as far as today, not too bad, kind of chilly up through there. But it's tonight when the Arctic front comes through that they are expecting more of that snow to set in. All right. So looking a little bit farther to the south, we do have in our area, I say our area, my kids live up in this area, some of them anyway, and my new daughter-in-law. My son just got married a couple months back, and so we keep growing the family here, the Sudduth family. But let's look at this graphic, and this is more in the Raleigh weather forecast area. So just northwest of Raleigh, which is right here, you have the Durham, they call it the triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and Cary's tucked in there. And that is where we do have one of our cams, and it's finally on the map. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So tomorrow, this could be really interesting. We'll have to see. I do know that this is I-40 that cuts through here, through the triangle area into the triad, and it could be rather rough tomorrow. A half inch, and again, you scoff at that if you're up north, that's fine. A half inch is nothing, right? But for us here down in the south, it's something. So just be aware of that. And we'll take a look at that cam tomorrow. I'll show you in just a minute. And then there's just a small area in Tennessee where there are also winter weather advisories in a few counties. Kind of looks like a paw print of like an animal, doesn't it? Right there. Mark's seeing things, but it does. Looks like a paw print. Anyway, parts of Tennessee have winter weather advisories as well. And then this is curious down in southeast Arizona, a chance of some snow. Temperatures kind of cold, so you've got the freeze warnings. It's just weird because I was out there and it was 119, 118 degrees, whatever it was, with Scott and myself in Phoenix. Now, certainly Phoenix is not in the freeze warning right now. There's Phoenix up there. And you do have areas in Arizona that are elevated and even just high plateaus, if you will, high deserts as it's called, and you can get freezing temperatures in there, not just in the mountains. But anyway, it's just weird when you see freeze warnings for Arizona. I know it happens, but it's just odd sometimes, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it on the national scene for current conditions. Let me do check in real quick with you fine folks on the YouTube chat and see what's going on. Hey, we have Brad on here. Good morning from the OBX. Good morning to you, Mr. Hanson. And or is it Handsome? Ha ha ha. Maybe both, right? Um, and Vanda, are you in Ohio or are you in Australia? Yeah, I'll dox you there on at least a regional or continental scale, right? Vanda has been following our work for a long time as well. Good to see everybody. So let's move on. So it's I-80. Very good. Thanks for so that was I-80 that goes through what I was showing earlier through Pennsylvania. Brad, I guess that would be. And Brad's talking about hopefully helping us get a camera up in that region down the road a piece as well. I'm gonna see Brad on the 13th out on the North Carolina Outer Banks when we go replace one of the cameras out there on the Rodanthe Pier. All right, satellite wise, just wanted to show you this. Let me refresh it. And I'll probably mention this quite a few times over the course of my career. But do you know what? Let me pause this. Do you know what? Let me do it midway through. There we go. Do you know what this line is called? And don't look it up. No cheating. Can't cheat. The line that separates the night from the day on any heavenly body is called. I'll give you just a second. You might have heard it before. The name is also the name of a very famous James Cameron movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. And if you think about it, as you see it on the moon, when you look at the moon and there's a line on there that separates dark from night, we need Neil deGrasse Tyson on here. If you look at the moon and it's got this little, anyway, it's called the Terminator. No kidding, I'm not making that up. It's called the Terminator that separates night from day. And you can see that Terminator. And guess what? It's curved. It's not straight. So there you go. I mean, if the Earth was flat, that line would be a straight line. Come on. Anyway, wait till you see tomorrow's show talking about debunking conspiracies. It's not even a conspiracy. A conspiracy is when a group of people get together and they're trying to have something that works in their favor that maybe changes something. This is just more of wrong thinking that the Earth is flat when you can see that the Terminator is clearly curved. I mean, my goodness. But tomorrow on Follow Friday, I'll talk about it at the end of today's show. Oh, have I got a good one speaking of stuff like that, debunking weather and astronomical mysteries. Anyway, the Terminator, that separates night from day, moving quickly across our planet as we rotate towards the east, right? And I tell you what, if we ever do get lucky enough that this show grows hugely and it gets the attention of Neil deGrasse Tyson, I would love to have him on and talk about how galaxies and hurricanes look almost the same. If you think about it, they all have the arms, and at the center of a lot of galaxies apparently are black holes, and at the center of hurricanes are these calm eyes. Why such similarities? Anyway, story for another day. If we ever do get lucky enough to have any astrophysicist come on, much less Neil deGrasse Tyson. But yes, what I wanted to show you, in addition to my Terminator references, the subtropical jet streaming some moisture in across this fairly decently robust Arctic air mass underneath, that's starting to help to set the stage for the wintry weather that we're seeing. But there's going to be more Arctic air, and you got to understand this. Let me drop back out again that whole talking to you, not just at you. And one day we are going to figure out how to get me down where it's more like a green screen and I can just point to stuff. But anyway, deep, thick Arctic air spilling down out of the north, the Northwest Territories, Alaska, even coming cross polar from Siberia. That is what is needed to really help trigger these big winter storms. Again, we're kind of in this realm of garden variety, kind of one after the other. Disruptive, impactful, yes, but not exceedingly so. We don't see any of these big blockbuster storms yet because we're not quite to the point where we're getting these massive temperature differences with a strong, thick Arctic air chunk and subtropical jet energy. Those have not all combined yet. So we haven't seen any major blockbuster storms, but we're starting to see the pattern change just a little bit more towards that as we go forward through time. All right, looking at the track map here. Speaking of the Terminator, I forgot. I think I mentioned it the other day, But I want to show it to you. We do have a camera, and hopefully it'll pop up. I was talking about this on our pre-show that these Nest cams, as great as they are in our project, sometimes they do take a while to pop up. There we go. So our good friend Tim Bruno has this camera at his office, at his place up there at Annette Island in Alaska. And that, of course, is on the Panhandle. And it's still dark up there, of course. And their daylight hours are few and far between at best right now as it is. But what a kind of haunting, eerie look, right? I keep hoping that a bear or a moose or an elk or something will come, or a Sasquatch. Hey, that'd be cool. That'll get the views up. Have a live Sasquatch sighting. That would do it. Um, yes, we'll see. We can only be so lucky. But a live look at Annette, Alaska, uh, and it's not snowing because this area, I'll show you where it is. We'll zoom in on it. Very rainforest-y. Is that an adjective? It is now. Very rainforesty up there. Very wet. I've been up through this way on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship last year. And oh my goodness, some of the most incredible scenes anywhere on the planet is this area. It really is. And very thankful to Mr. Bruno, who hosts that camera up there so that we can see. It's actually his camera. I just gave him the information to get it. I think it's his. Anyway, it's on our system and we appreciate that. Again, with these, like, come on, Nest. What are we doing? Let's go. You got to tease it. You got to keep hitting the server, I guess. I want to show you Pahrump, Nevada. There we go. Finally, I did ask Paul to maybe straighten it up a little bit. My long time, I've known this dude for 20 plus years. Paul Bowman, Pahrump, Nevada. This is a view from his place. You guys remember the late, great Art Bell? Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Art was from Pahrump. I've been on his show a few times, way back in the day. Anyway, let me point out a few things to you. That, my friends, is Mount Charleston in the distance, and it is snow-capped, beautiful. A little bit of snow across the rest of the Spring Mountains over here, and Vegas, Viva Las Vegas, is way over there. No singing, not allowed, and no Elvis impersonations after today. But seriously, Vegas is located off to the north and east of where this shot is from, and you can see that here, or I guess it's east, but whatever. And you can see the lights of Vegas on that camera at night, especially when it's cloudy. Our Sierra Vista cam, unfortunately, offline, but let's take a look real quick at what's happening in Black Forest, Colorado, near Colorado Springs. And again, I guess I have to just click these a couple times to tease the system and get Nest to wake up. Hello, Google, anybody? Are we there? Let's try the one in Parker. Parker 1, Parker 2. We have two of them out there. And apparently, Parker and Black Forest are asleep. I got to ad lib my way out of this. Come on. Seriously. And again, I've mentioned this before. This is exactly what will drive the control room crazy at Fox Weather when these won't pull up when you need them to. And we do have a solution with some new cams that we're gradually implementing. I don't know what's going on in the central part of the country, so we'll move along to the new one in Cary, North Carolina. Don't let me down, and it's going to let me down. We're just going to sit here, and I'll ad-lib my way through this because we're going to wait for that. Thank you. Finally, somebody at Google is awake. Um, Technology, right? And imagine if this was literally like Fox Weather when they're on the air and they're trying to show something. It's not just my cams. I've been up in there a few times. I've seen the inner workings of how everything goes, and they have just hundreds of these cams ready. And you want to show something neat or interesting or sometimes spectacular, like from our cams, and technology will fail you. I'm just trying to show you here on a little tiny web show. Nevertheless, it's running, buffering as it may be. This is a shot from Cary, North Carolina, from my son's apartment. And this tomorrow, I tell you, this could be really interesting if they do get a little bit of snow at all. This is a major intersection, and we might simply pump this shot live on YouTube separately and just see and call it like waiting for the crash cam or something like that. If this part of Cary does get any kind of icing or snow or whatever. Could be interesting. We'll see. Not wishing for it, but if it happens, we want to witness it, I guess. I don't know. And then the Outer Banks, of course, we've got the pier cam that we're getting ready to replace, and we'll see which one of these decides to pop up. That is a great shot right there from our friend Hillary's house. Brad, I mean, come on, dude. That's a great shot. You got a nice day out there. Just checking in on the old chat here, seeing who we've got. Karen, good to see you. Javier and Spooky over in the UK. We have Scott Pearson. Terrific. Good to see everybody on here. Weather, Scott, does the Las Vegas haze and smog issue persist in the winter, or does it clear out? I know Scott's asking that because he and I were out there this summer when it was near 100 and something degrees and they had a lot of smog. So, Scott, what can happen out there in really anywhere is you get this temperature inversion. And so, yes, it can happen even in the wintertime where the air gets trapped and it's very still. And you think about all the people, a million plus that live in Vegas and it's down in that valley, and you get the warm air over the cold air, or is it warm air over warm air? But anyway, it typically helps to trap it. The temperature inversion can do that in the wintertime. So the answer is yes. All right. I want to see if there's any other views from. There we go. That's the one. So we have a couple cams out here. We have four total. This one's actually on the pier, clearly. This one's just a little ways over on a house next to the pier. And then this one, now they work just perfect. And this one is on that same house looking north. Just a nice area. We should get Brad to come out and like do a dance for us next to the dumpster. Brad's like, nope. Anyway, where else? I like these cams. These are off our interactive map. We need some more of them out there. This is the one down at our friend William's place in Port Aransas, Mr. Campbell, and it has a great view of the graveyard. So yeah, uh, it is what it is. We kind of dreary looking down there today. So there you go. All right, that's a look at the cams. Let's look at the forecast real quick from the good old GFS from the 6Z run and overnight hours. Of course, that means it was initialized at 2 a.m. Eastern. And the initial map, let me point out a few things for you. We'll use red here. Nice big area, 1036 millibars surface high. So that is your sprawling area of cold air, right? And again, it's like molasses that just kind of spills slowly across a table. The same thing with this Arctic air. And actually, let me show you some cool stuff here. We'll learn you some things. You can actually see how that works thanks to the gradient here in the color scale from Dr. Cowan's maps. Um, you can just see the flow and how that air spills. You look at this deep air, deep Arctic air up here. And as I put this through, the motions, you can see how that air moves around. So it's literally, high pressure is thicker air. So it moves, it like slides south. It's just, I think, incredible. And that leads to all kinds of interesting weather. So you can literally see the air moving around, and you can see warm air advection, the lateral movement. There's cold air advection as well, the horizontal movement of air. Convection, of course, is the vertical movement. But look, here's a great example. There's a big chunk of it right there, and you can kind of see it moving around. And I just think that's fascinating. And sometimes it moves very prominently to the south. We call that longitudinal flow. When it does so, the jet stream can dip really far south and you get 25 degrees in Orlando and frozen oranges. Anyway, so the surface map uh, sets the stage for what we're looking for. A few thunderstorms down around parts of the northern Gulf Coast area, but just light, no big deal. I didn't even pull up the convective outlooks for today because there's just not much happening. And again, a few lake snows in and around the still very warm Great Lakes. So let's move this out to the next week and show you what happens. There is the tomorrow morning headache setting up for northern North Carolina, right along the border of Virginia and into Virginia itself, parts of West Virginia and even Kentucky, that region. But look, there's your culprit. There's the cold high. The cold air is dammed up in and around the Appalachians. especially on the east side, and it's the setup for some light but impactful snow showers. All right, that moves on out, and I'm gonna tell you what, also just an absolute misery of weather for here in Wilmington starting later today. Rain and rain and more rain. Ugh, I mean, luckily, and I love doing the show, don't get me wrong, but this weekend, I'm just going to sleep because it's sleeping weather. No kidding. Just dreary. And it's that subtropical jet moving across. You can see it there. We go back to the satellite animation over here. There it is coming in, streaking across on satellite. This is what it looks like on a numerical weather model. So how about that? It all matches up. Then we go through early next week, and as we're going to look at in a little bit later on segment, the rumors of storms part. No snow here for Monday. It doesn't appear. Womp womp. But pretty good clipper system moving across the northern tier states. By Monday, 4 days out, so more snow up there, but no big time storms over the next week in terms of something that has everybody's attention. That's the top story, all that good stuff. But boy, you can really see the troughiness even here with the thickness lines, as we call it, on the surface map. If we go to the 500 millibar layer of the atmosphere, you can see that very, very, very well carved out northwest flow draining right down into the Carolinas, into the Ohio Valley, into the Lakes region, warmish out west, relatively speaking. And that's just the way the flow is. But this is pretty broad, by the way. And that's very important to note. It's not quite longitudinal, or zonal. I'm sorry, let me back up. I just have to slow down. It's not quite zonal flow where it's just kind of flat like that, but the air mass source, at least coming into the Pacific Northwest, is right off the Pacific. So it is almost zonal flow coming west to east with some northwesterly flow draining that very cold air out of the Northwest territories, the Canadian prairies, but we're not quite to where we see. Let me just get this where I can clear some stuff out. There we go. That's more of your zonal flow, but we're not quite seeing that deep longitudinal flow like that. Once that sets in, it's that expression Katie bar the door. All right. So there you go. So a few headlines here. Actually, let me go back to the full screen of me for a second and just check and see what's going on the chat. Good to see everybody. No dancing. All right, Brad. Tell you what, if you don't dance, I won't sing anymore. All right. That's not a promise, though. You just never know. Washington State to New York likely to see snow. That's a good way to put it, Javier. I agree. And what is that? TJ Tampa, sleeping weather. Yep, the Bears will tell you that. And I do. I think that's definitely an evolutionary thing built into us mammals, that when the weather gets crappy, it's time to sleep, conserve your energy, stave off any infections you might have, and you wake up and you feel great on the other side. The bears do it, and other mammals, and so I think humans should follow suit. If it rains and it's nasty, take the day off and get some sleep. All right, and if you get fired, it's not my fault. Anyway, let's take a look at a few stats and some other stuff, and I've got a really interesting weather-related, maybe kind of mystery thing coming up in some of these tabs I'll show you in just a moment. But first, one of my favorite things to show, because I just love stats, national high and low temperatures for yesterday. Remember, this will always be a day behind because today hasn't happened yet. We're still in the middle of it. So Florida is out of the running. They've been kicked out for the national high. It was 89 degrees at Rio Grande Village, Texas, or Rio Grande, whatever. Rio Grande Village, Texas is the national high at 89 degrees yesterday. And 12, or I'm sorry, again, just slow down, Mark. Minus 12 at 5 miles east southeast of Northgate, North Dakota. Minus 12. So we have a negative 12 way up there in North Dakota as our national low. These are eventually going to start coming in at like minus 30 and whatever. And by the way, there's this place, I think it's called Peter Sink, Utah. And if Weather Scott's still watching, I know you're going to know, and you can throw it in the YouTube chat. I think think it's called Peter Sink, Utah, something like that. More often than not, as we get through the winter, they're going to have the daily national low, just the way the cold air settles in there. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. I've noticed that a few times from this daily stat that the Weather Prediction Center puts out. And I do appreciate it because I love these kinds of things. Speaking of stats, this is a good thing to see. Again, I got a lot of interest and a lot of friends that we've met over the years in the Arizona area. It's one of my favorite parts of the world. Um, that's starting to rack up now, isn't it? I've got Alaska and the Panhandle region, and now Arizona. There's a lot of places that are my favorites. But we got a good planet, right? So lots of cool stuff. So this area of see it's going too fast again. This area of Arizona, very good to see that the fall precipitation is ranking among the wettest on record, especially in northern Arizona. And that's really important because, again, referring to Scott, who went with me on the monsoon expedition this year, which turned more into a fire expedition. We went after, you don't chase fire, I guess it chases you. But we had the Dragon Bravo fire, and there were other large fires in northern Arizona. And so when you read all of this, and we know these areas pretty well, talking about Prescott and Show Low. By the way, there is a fantastic Arby's in Show Low. Don't ask me how I know. You just got to trust me on that. Um, Fall precipitation 6.29 inches in Show Low, Page, Arizona 2.68. This is, you want to see this. Seriously, this is really, really good. Beautiful Sedona, a whopping 8.69, Payson at 11. We're talking about almost a foot. Flagstaff, all the way up to 10.35, the fifth wettest. I'm telling you, you got to understand, like, this is really, really good. It is good for so many different reasons. The ecosystem out there, the fire weather, uh, just draining into different basins that help water tables, the Native Americans that still have their land out there, the tourists, the skiers, everything. It is really, really good to see, and I get excited when I see that. Can you tell? That's good stuff. And I'm going to be out. I'm gonna mark it down. I will be in Flagstaff for a big snowstorm before this winter is over. I've been threatening to do it the last few years, and it's on the bingo card um, for this year. We're going to do that this winter season. All right, moving on along. This is relevant to what I was just talking about with that snow squall stuff. Interesting that the snow squalls possible, and this just shows you how severe weather works, right? Trying to get a good color. Snow squalls possible. By the way, how does Ian Oliver or Tom Brokaw on NBC News I don't think he still does it. How does anybody do live news? I talk so fast, I trip up. Maybe that's why I don't do TV. But anyway, it's just slowing down is hard to do. I get so excited about this stuff. Maybe once you do TV for a while, you get used to it. So we'll see. Snow squalls possible. Then you get these tongue twisters. 20% was in the area. This is what I was trying to get at before I tripped over my own words. Let's use this blue color. That's where the snow squall warning was, right through there, but they were only in the 20%. Isn't that interesting? So sometimes you get these 2% tornado days, and then you have a couple of violent tornadoes in that 2% area. So just because you see low doesn't mean no, right? That's a new trademarked slogan. Low does not mean no. Whereas the higher probabilities are here through New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire of these dangerous snow squalls. So just something to keep in mind. And again, I talked about this earlier when we were looking at the radar and whatnot. These snow squalls are a really, really big problem. And I mean, it just goes without saying that look at that graphic there. Presumably, I mean, somebody's either a really good artist or ChatGPT made that, or they took a wreck and like photoshopped like a filter on it. But that's the reason you get these pileups, the visibility drops. It's just really, really bad. And these are 30 to 60 minutes in a small targeted area, and only a northeast United States problem, mainly coming off the lakes. But anyway, just wanted to point that out. Snow squalls, a big problem. So again, This Arctic front that's coming through, this is out of Mount Holly in New Jersey. Big cold front and Arctic air moving in behind will set the stage for more of that wintry weather. We're just gradually getting there, of getting what we call this antecedent setup of deep cold air, that once everything comes together, it's just a matter of time that we're going to get a really, really big storm, probably somewhere in the east. Speaking of all that, National Weather Service, Wilmington, right here in my neck of the woods. And just little reminders for you, just trying to help you out here. Time to winterize your home. Again, how do you do TV? Seriously. Winterize your home. You got to inspect your chimneys. I don't have one of those. Check your windows, insulate your exposed pipes. Just tips, just kind of reminding you, especially if you're a new homeowner. Some of my kids are, they just moved into their houses recently, and these are some things that could help them. Hopefully, these brand new houses are built well and they're already ready for all this kind of stuff, you would hope. Oh, yeah, this Adrian down in Miami, a huge, big time weather geek at heart, just a cool guy. I can't wait to meet him in person. He's got an awesome camera set up and a weather station, very frequently contacting the National Weather Service in Miami with stats and observations and his time lapses. I love it. So this is a big wide view shot of 4K time lapse from Arian. Arian, again, slow it down, Mark. I got to get a coach or something in here, just like slow down. Adrian's weather station down in, and look at that. He's got the stats on there, the wind and the pressure. Seriously, round of applause. I love it. I just think that's fantastic. And I'm hoping to get down into Miami in January to do a seminar at the Hurricane Research Division and maybe even the National Hurricane Center. And while I'm down there, I'm going to see my friend Dylan Federico, who now works down there in the TV market. And we're going to put a camera at Dylan's condo. Wait till you see that view. But anyway, nice ground level shot from Adrian Linares down there in Miami, Florida. Now, this next one, let me set this up by coming widescreen. My next tab, jump on the chat, see who all is saying hello today. Hey, thank you, Pettis, for the $10 super chat. That's a nice, look at that. It shows up as a yellow. You guys ever see the NASA Space Flight Now dudes that do the commentary before rocket launches, and they will have thousands of people watching? That is how powerful the internet can be. These space geeks, as you want to call it. And I don't think that's a diminutive word at all. I totally embrace it. Weather geek, science geek, weather nerd, sign me up. These guys, if you haven't ever seen it, absolutely remarkable in how they've grown. They've got a staff now, and the super chats that roll in $10, $50, $100. That is the power of the really good side of social media and YouTube and the internet as a whole. So you see something like that from James Pettis there, who's got his own stuff out there that's tremendous. Hey, look, we all appreciate it, seriously. So this next thing I'm going to show you on a Twitter tab that I have saved. I was debating whether or not to talk about it because it's not entirely weather related, but maybe it is. So let's jump in and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen this, it certainly caught my attention, and so I figured I'd share it with you. You guys remember way back in, what was it, 2014, 13, something like that? I think it was 13. The MH370 plane vanished. And it was a 777, and it just, poof, gone. And there have been a lot of different theories and, strange stuff from, oh, it was extraterrestrials. I mean, you name it, it's been out there. There's been massive searches, there's been documentaries. And then it just kind of fell off and I absolutely don't mean to make light of it, but it fell off the radar. No pun intended, seriously. But now it is back. And I'm going to just show you this real quick snippet here. Let's mute the audio. This is a 60 minutes deal, just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. The search is going to resume. And a decade later, answers may finally emerge. We certainly hope so. And I bring this up because it might be weather related. We know that the weather affects flying. We just don't know. So when I saw this, I thought, oh, I do want to talk about it. In case you didn't see it yourselves, now you know about it. That coming up very soon, around the 30th of this month, a very, very big 55-day deep sea mission. They have a lot of new technology now over the southern Indian Ocean, and it's a basically no fine, no fee contract. So you earn 70 million bucks if only the main wreckage is located, whoever's involved with this. And there's been all kinds of searches already covering over 120,000 square kilometers with very little success at all. 239 folks lost their lives. Or if you believe some of the more wackadoodle stuff, they're living in some other dimension or on an island somewhere. I'm like serious, like the weird things that have come out of what could have happened. But I'm hoping science will solve this and we get answers because to have an entire 777 just vanish off the face of the earth, even in the mid 2010s, is unacceptable. Seriously. So I really hope this comes to fruition and we learn some things about it. Did you guys know about that? Uh, I'll look at the chat here, but we'll see. So stay tuned in the coming days and weeks. I'll do a follow up. This is on my radar quite prominently. All right, Throwback Thursday. I am very excited about this. You're in for a real treat. So our Throwback Thursday here on Talking Weather is going to look back at something that happened in our past. The project, maybe me personally, as I started my career. And one thing that is very important to always remember, and I do try to make this known as much as I can, it's pretty much never been just me. Maybe when I first started, but even then, as anybody that is successful at what they do in any career, you do have people that help you along the way. And that's the way it's been for my entire 30 years, is different people mentoring, suggesting, criticizing, critiquing. Sometimes those are interchangeable. And come about 2011, I'll do the setup here as we get ready for this Throwback Thursday. We were looking at the possibility of using aerial video to survey the aftermaths of hurricanes. And my good friend Paul Bowman from the camera there in Pahrump, Nevada, just happened to throw his wife's camera on a model airplane that he had built out of styrofoam out in Pahrump. And he flew it around the neighborhood and shared the video with me. And a light went off right up here, multiple lights. It was like Vegas in here. And I thought, dude, we could do that after a hurricane. And I probably even said it just like that, dude. Paul and I would talk on the phone for hours. We solved so many problems, came up with solutions to things and new ideas and whatever, talking on the phone. This is even before Bluetooth, was prominent. I have that little headset on. I look like an idiot just walking around the house talking to Paul, trying to come up with the next big thing. And once he showed me that airplane video from his model, I said we should do this after a hurricane. So fast forward to the spring, early summer of 2011, and we flew Paul with the help of our good friend Carrie to Texas, and Greg Nordstrom from Mississippi State, who I'd done a project with related to hurricane awareness, he joined us, and the four of us did a test at Bolivar Peninsula and then at Galveston with a model airplane with a GoPro on it. I think it was like the Hero 2, and we flew it around. It was like 6, 7 minutes, pretty stable flight. And I thought, oh, this is going to be perfect. Now, this is before commercial drones. Nobody had those yet. So fast forward again, this is a long setup, so bear with me, to Hurricane Irene later that August of 2011. And we flew Paul out to Raleigh, Durham, picked him up. He went through the hurricane with us, and we flew the plane the next day along Kitty Hawk and Kill Devil Hills, which is perfect because that's where the first flight ever was from the Wright brothers, right? And over the Roanoke Sound, and pretty good success. Wasn't a lot of damage up there, whatever, but it worked. So, what does all this have to do with Throwback Thursday? Let me get to the point. Between those two dates, right after we were done with the Bolivar test, and I had taken Greg back home to Mississippi or to get to his car or whatever, I was on the phone with a good friend of mine, another colleague, Tim, down in Florida, Tim Millar, Cyclone Research Group, telling him all about this. He's a pilot as well. He flies cargo planes now, and back then he flew the Banner planes. And I was like, yeah, man, we can fly this plane around. We did a great test, and it's going to be amazing in the aftermath of hurricanes. And maybe if we get into the eye of a well-developed hurricane with a stadium effect, Paul could maybe bank up and we could aim the camera up and see the eye wall and the stadium effect from 500 feet up. Whatever. We just had these ideas. And then Tim says, well, why don't you just put a GoPro on a weather balloon and launch that to the stratosphere? And that's where Herbie was born. It was Tim's idea. He sparked it. I literally told him, I got to let you go. I got to hang up. Oh my gosh. I got to go. I got to call Carrie. Screw the plane idea. We're gonna do this weather balloon thing. Anyway, we still did the airplane, as I said, during the aftermath of Irene. But that, ladies and gentlemen, gave birth to the Herbie idea, the hurricane balloon or research balloon, whatever. So, in the year that it took from 2011 into spring of 2012, we researched high altitude ballooning. What does it take and whatever? Because what we wanted to do was take Tim's idea and make it happen. Except instead of one GoPro, I wanted to put 4 GoPros into the stratosphere through the eye of a hurricane as it makes landfall. So that brings me to the very first Throwback Thursday. All right. So let me get in here and show you. That is the very beginnings of the project. These are some old, I don't even think anybody has seen these. I found them on an old SD card, and that's the very first beginnings of the Herbie project. And there's quite a few things to unpack here in this picture. First of all, yes, it is a styrofoam cooler, $2.38 from Walmart. I still have this yellow box right here. It's like a briefcase size, but thicker. And that's where I pack all of my laptop stuff and whatever when I travel, just so you know. That is a Sprint Air card from way back in the day. And that is an old postcard that I had for promotional purposes and whatever. So you can see this is my shop at one of our old houses that we had here in Wilmington before we moved to where I am now. So the idea was that I would take a cooler, I'll just walk you through this, and retrofit it, transform it into a payload. The first idea was that I would use PVC pipes, and we'd have 4 of them that acted like outriggers, attached to different cords, so it was like a basket, and then we'd put the GoPros on those outriggers, 2 of them looking up and out or whatever, and 2 of them looking down or down and out, right? And so that's the prototype of the prototype. And there's me holding it in front of the camera. I don't know who took the picture or whatever. Again, I don't know if I've ever shown these to anyone except Carrie. And by the way, that is one of the old camera boxes. And this box, I still have that. I actually ship stuff in this box now. There's the long cable for the very first cameras that we were using, those old bullet cams. There's a lot of history here. Throwback Thursday, you ain't kidding. But that was the first iteration of it with these PVC pipes. But for some reason, we didn't think those were going to be strong enough, or something just tripped me up. And I thought, well, let's try something different. So I switched and used aluminum instead, these aluminum outriggers, and began the actual very first Herbie payload. And here's the evolution of it. We were going to wrap it in this orange Gorilla Tape to give it more strength, and then it also makes it very visible. And you can see that I actually hung it from a basketball goal. And there are the GoPros. These are the Hero 2s. Carrie helped to fund those. Those are, and still are, expensive. And we had 4 of them. As you can see, they would stick out from the sides, and we'd have these outriggers to support the cords that went up to the actual cord that went up to the weather balloon itself and the parachute. And that's what everything looked like. It was ready to go. We completely covered it in this orange tape as we moved along, kind of like the tiles that they put on the space shuttle, you know, one at a time, whatever. and we just wrapped it in layers and layers of this tape because I figured it wouldn't disintegrate if it's got layers of Gorilla Tape. And when you layer Gorilla Tape, you might as well use steel because it's just insanely strong. But that is the very first payload of Herbie, the Hurricane research balloon, or just Hurricane balloon, and 3 out of the 4 GoPros. Of course, the 4th GoPro is out of view back there. And we were ready to go. And we helped to crowdfund this. This is just a picture of one of the tiles that I made. On the front, it said something about Herbie and whatever. And this is from Mike Tice, the very famous Mike Tice. I like what he said. I think they were $100 a tile, and I think we sold 12 of them, so we had enough money to buy stuff, including the helium and some of the GoPros. Carrie helped out as well. Now, I got to remember where I have everything here. Oh, yeah, it's in this directory. What did it all look like? Well, let me show you. We went out to, let's double click this, make it full screen. We went out to Buffalo, Texas, and vicinity. This is a very long video, so it's an hour. And we know we're not going to be here an hour, so scroll through. I'm going to show you how things didn't work and then how things worked, all right? This is where failure is an option. So we had never done this before. I want to make that very clear. You can see me up in the corner. Hi. We'd never done this before. I'm not an engineer. I put together what I thought would work based on some limited data online, the weather balloon and the weight and just whatever. So we had a 1,500 gram weather balloon that I calculated would need about 140 cubic feet of helium to lift, wait for it, a 4.5 pound payload. That payload was the cooler. I showed it to you, and you'll see other pictures of it in a minute. And I would lift that and the GoPros and those little tiles that people bought to help crowdfund it, and a spot locator, a satellite tracker, and Carrie's APRS Kenwood radio. And anybody that's in amateur radio, you got to be going, dang, dude. Yeah, all of that was in there. And it was going to lift that to hopefully 100,000 feet, land, and tell us where it was at. Oh, there was also a Google G1 phone that would send back, kind of like Life 360 does now, its data and tell us exactly where it is. So that's the view from the GoPro, the raw view. I do have a video. Oops, I have to just remember what I'm doing here. I do have a video that shows us setting it up. And let me try to remember where that is. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. So double click that. This is what everything looked like from the ground. As it plays.
Keep recording, Mark.
Turn the volume down. So there's us getting things ready. This is Greg Nordstrom taking video for us. Carrie's there with the suspenders. Rest in peace. What a great friend of the project. He passed away in 2020. We'll talk about him more, believe me. A whole tribute coming for him. And this is Ray Fields, I believe that was his name, who donated his property. And there's us trying to fill up the balloon, gigantic weather balloon. Greg's backing up for safety. He said he was backing up to get a better view, but I think he thought something was going to blow up. I really do. So yeah, we filled it up. Try to scroll ahead a little bit here. And I think I can pause this and you can get a good idea of the payload. Yep. So there's the payload right there, all covered up for the most part in Gorilla Tape. We put our name and phone number on it with a Sharpie, and we were ready to go. So let me go back and show you how this worked or somewhat didn't work. Let me just fast forward here. 13 minutes. Let's see if this is it. I'm just trying to show you a raw video, so bear with me. 16 minutes. Yeah, we had a lot of prep work. 22 minutes in. I probably should have, oh yeah, there we go. It's already launched. Probably should have just gotten the raw video on my desktop and just showed you the GoPro. That would have been faster. Let's back it up just a little bit more. So what I had done is didn't put enough helium in for the first launch, and it didn't go. It just bounced along the ground, and luckily we were able to run after it and snag it. And then we were ready to go. We untied the balloon, added the appropriate amount of helium, and we were all set. And here I am getting ready to launch. Take this full screen. This is history. This is the very first time that we had launched a weather balloon for testing, and I thought we were going to never see it again, to be honest with you. And it worked. It went up to 94,000 feet. You can see the shadow of it. And I'll fast forward way ahead. You can see it 45 minutes in the whole video. We're way up high over Texas. You can see the gas fields down there. The camera fogged up because we forgot to account for that, and they make these little desiccant sticks that you can put inside GoPros that wicks up all the moisture, but you got to do it like the night before. We learned that for later test launches, and that video, of course, is all crystal clear. Yep, so there's that one. And then I want to show you what happened when it came back down. Yeah, this is really funny. Oh yeah, let's do this one. This is the landing shot. So there it is, looking down, you can see the payload itself. We are at 94,000 feet, high above like Corsicana. Waco is not too far away. We're way up there. And no, the Earth is not curved from this far up. I mean, it is, but it's exaggerated because of the extreme wide angle of the GoPro. We're not in low Earth orbit. It just distorts it. There is curvature, but it's not that dramatic. But anyway, the balloon reaches what we call burst altitude, and it falls back to Earth, the payload. I'm going to try to find that here. I remember when I'm showing GoPro videos in the future to just throw them on the desktop and play them through the player. This is much better than trying to do them out of Dropbox. So yeah, the balloon has burst, and so the payload is on its way back down. And there's a little bit of atmosphere up there, so it's a little bit turbulent. And it doesn't take long, and the payload finally gets back to Earth. We're getting closer. Actually, I think I can just jump ahead 10 seconds, and that's still going to buffer. Sorry this isn't going as smooth as I wanted it to, but bear with me. It is awesome when we get to the end here. A couple of funny things, too. Closer and closer we go. I don't remember how long it took to get back. I did a report about this, but it's been a while. Oh, there we are. We're getting closer. And let's jump ahead a little bit more. Might already be on the ground at this point. Oh, here we go. I'll just let it play till we land. Sadly, it was fogged up because it's so freaking cold up there, like minus 70. And we're coming back into the humid atmosphere of Texas in late May. And so the camera fogged up again on re-entry. But we landed in a field way out there in the middle of nowhere. And we had to take the APRS transmitter out because it was too heavy. And we relied on Paul's phone over the terrestrial network and our spot locator to tell us where it was. And those are natural gas fields, by the way, all those little patches with roads leading to them. But it landed at about 25 miles per hour, we estimate, and everything survived. All four GoPros recorded. I'll show you some of that video in a second. Here we come. We're coming in, and there we go. You look around, everything's getting bigger. I know it's dizzying. Sorry. Hey, now we have this in 360 video from launches all the way back to 2021 when we used a GoPro Max. You should see that in a VR. You talk about feeling seasick. Anyway, here we go, coming in. I didn't realize it took this long. It's a really big parachute, by the way. It's 3 feet across, so 1 meter, a 1 meter parachute. And if we had all day, I'd show you all the camera angles, but I want to kind of wrap this up. This is kind of a long Throwback Thursday, but I thought it was important because it was a benchmark for us and a very big moment for our project here. Just fast forward as much as I can. All right, here we come. The last few seconds. Those are cows that you can see. Those are starting to come into view. And there we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Onto the ground we land. And it didn't take long. We tracked down the payload. The wind actually catches the parachute. I'll show you here, and drags the payload a few more feet and flips the cameras around, so all of their views changed. This one from the grass to, wait for it, looking basically up or sideways or something. And the cows came over and checked everything out. It was really funny. Exit full screen. Yeah, there we go. So now it's upside down, and it's not too long that the cows come over. Let's see if I can find that. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that's our very first test of the weather balloon way back in 2012. I got one more thing to show you on Throwback Thursday, and then we're done with all of that. All right. What else we got? Just seeing what's happening here. And is that your signature? We can see. Yes, it was. Put my name on it, my old phone number, and just kind of reading through some things here. Anyway, so that's the first Herbie launch. Now let me show you something related to that. When we were done, it was like late May of 2012, and we were all finished. It was a success. We got everything back, the payload, great video. Again, we figured out it went to 94,000 feet, and we were done. And lo and behold, over on the East Coast, we had a tropical storm, our second one of the season, and that was Beryl. Remember that? It made landfall near Jacksonville, Florida, Fernandina Beach area. And this is just a few selected clips. Greg Nordstrom and I went after it. We chased it, I guess you could say. You don't really chase hurricanes. You get to where they're going to be ahead of time. That's why we call it the Hurricane Intercept Research Team. At least that's what we called it back in the day. But this is early GoPro video, and that's really what it looked like. This is like 720p. It looks like film, honestly. You know what I mean? Like an old 32 16 millimeter film or something like that, or 35 millimeter, whatever it was called. But I'll just show you some of these progressions through as we get closer. This is I-10, and we're heading in closer and closer. We had to drive from Texas to Jacksonville, Florida in like a day and a half to catch up with Beryl. Let's just move ahead a few frames here, a few shots. There we go. We're starting to get closer and closer. In the old Chevy Tahoe as well. This is long gone. In 2018, I retired it, and it's just rusting away over at a friend's house in his yard. Now we're getting into some of the early rain bands of Beryl. Still not to Jacksonville. I-10, if you know I-10 just through Florida, it's 700 miles. I'm just kidding, but it certainly feels like it. And then we finally get into Jacksonville that evening. Here we are trying to get out to the coast. And there's that old wind tracker. There's Greg. There's me. Boy, I look different. That's for sure. That's just 2012. But that's the wind tracker. I'll freeze this for a second. The R.M. Young anemometer, that was our sort of like our airspeed, if you will. Like you're driving along. We're not going 82 miles per hour, but maybe we're going 60, and the headwind was 22, so you get an 82 mile per hour maximum gust. And then the instant was 32, but we were driving, and no, it does not interpolate it. But let me back that up, see if we can see me and Greg. So there's Greg, and there's me. That expression on Greg's face. What else do we got? Oh yeah, we got out there that night. This is Greg using the radar. Let me turn the volume up on this one.
All right, Greg Nordstrom, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with an update. We're currently near Jacksonville Beach. You can see on the blue dot there. We're going to move up to Neptune Beach, a little bit south of Atlantic Beach. Head west on 10, and then we're going to hit the 295 spur, come back around, and...
Yeah, I mean, he was showing me some stuff on his iPad. He had the radar scope, and very helpful as we track this thing. Look, there's the radar shot of Beryl, the 2012 edition of Beryl. Remember, 2024's edition was quite something, ramping up right before landfall in Texas. It was trying to band up and wrap up and become a hurricane. It was 70 miles per hour right before landfall. This rendition of Beryl, anyway. And we did. We got out there, and oops, that's just another GoPro time lapse I had loaded up. Let's see. This is the last one from Beryl, I do believe. Yep, we're down here at Atlantic Beach or Jacksonville Beach or somewhere, in the thick of it. And I think I show a shot or two of the anemometer So you can actually see the wind speeds there. Maybe. Let's see if that shows up. Yeah, the old GoPros were terrible at night. They've gotten a little bit better, but let's see if we show the anemometer reading. I'm hoping we do. There's me. Come on, Greg, pan to the right a little bit. It probably wasn't very windy anyway, so whatever. You get the idea. Tropical Storm Beryl, the first Herbie launch from way back in 2012. All right. Any thoughts, any questions from you guys about all of that? It's a very long and sort of sleep-inducing I-10. Exactly. No kidding. But Greg really helped out a lot during that one from the weather balloon stuff. He helped us out with the meteorology, actually, predicting roughly where the balloon would end up, and he was pretty darn close. The balloon travels through different layers of the atmosphere, of course, and so you have different um, wind acting on it and whatnot. And then, of course, we went after Beryl along the Florida northeast coast there. Throwback Thursday, the first one. Next week, I'll make it shorter and more concise now that I know I need to package everything in a folder on my desktop. So, what's next after Throwback Thursday? Rumors of storms. That's right. So yesterday I showed you this. It's not way out in time. That's generally what this segment is about. Like, we're looking for something that everybody's going to be talking about on social media. That's why it says I heard it through the algorithm, that before it hits the algorithm, we want to try to get in front of it. Well, yesterday during the show, I spotted this way out at hour 132. Obviously, it's not that far out. It's well within the normal acceptable ranges of most numerical weather products, but still, roughly 6 days out, a lot can change. And that's what meteorologists will tell you. There's this, there's that, a lot can change between now and then. And I mean, what I showed you yesterday from the day before was a 300-hour forecast. This is half of that. And this is valid next Monday at 18Z, so 1 p.m. Eastern. This is the 6Z run from yesterday. Here's that same run today. Nope. Same time. 18Z Monday. No snow for you. What changed just within that time frame? Obviously a lot. So there you go. We don't really see anything popping up in the next 132 hours. And if I broaden this back out and we go to the 6Z because it's fully run, again, no big blockbuster events over the next 2 weeks that I can see that will trigger those likes and shares and whatever, where you see 250 million people, I'm exaggerating, are on top of it saying, oh, look at this, a major East Coast snowstorm. Really not much at all in terms of social media hype storms or whatever, where people are going to share it and the algorithm goes crazy. So kind of a benign run-of-the-mill, one storm after the other. Um, there's a little clipper comes through right there. Sorry, just noticing things. A little Alberta clipper system moving briskly across the northern tier states. And not even any really big lake effect snow events either. Again, just regular winds, I guess, nuisance winds. A little bit of lake snows there, but whatever. So bottom line, not a bad weather pattern over the next 2 weeks. Nothing that looks too shocking or hype worthy. Don't forget, you can email me as we wrap today's show up, hermark@gmail.com. Tag me up on the Twitter. We are on our Discord as well. Speaking of that, let's just see. James! Hey, there he is. Hey, everybody. And again, James, thank you for the super chat. Much, much appreciated. And we'll have to have James on as well one day. He'll have to be a Follow Friday. That's how you qualify. You got to be a Follow Friday, and then we'll have you on. And wait till you see tomorrow's. I'll talk about that in just a moment. In fact, now. So tomorrow's show, more of the same in the front part. Current conditions, look at the cams, forecasts, headlines, things that pique my interest on Twitter, whatever. Then for tomorrow's Follow Friday, I'm telling you, you're going to like this. And I'm not just teasing it or what everybody says that. I'm not going to tell you who it is because that defeats the purpose. but you're going to want to tune in because we're going to address a phenomenon in the atmosphere that a lot of people talk about and they are just dead wrong. And that's all I'm going to say about it. So, our first Follow Friday tomorrow, trust me, it is a good one. And I can't wait to introduce you to this person and show you what we're going to talk about. All right? It's going to be terrific. And two people. We got two guests tomorrow. I'm not alone. Yay! Tomorrow I'll have our Follow Friday, and then we're going to check in with Jen Naramore on our Checking In with Jen segment. Where is she? What's she up to? She runs Tornado Talk. She's doing tornado research, especially historical stuff, facts and figures, and loss of life from tornadoes, right? So we're going to check in with Jen, and she's going to tell us all about where she is, why she's there, what tornado she's looking into, and so forth and so on. That'll be tomorrow. And of course, we are on Patreon, a huge part of our project over the last darn near 10 years now. It's hard to believe it's been that long. And it has done a lot of good for us, not only through the funding, but through the people that we have met and the things that they have helped us with. It is just remarkable. So there are all kinds of folks also on Patreon, and it's a great way to crowdfund new and innovative stuff in all kinds of different fields, from weather to podcasts to artists, you name it, it's on there. And we're part of it too. And of course, we are on YouTube. That's where you're watching this more than likely. So don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button so that you get notified when we are live. That's the biggest part. And of course, on Twitter, I will never, sorry, Elon, refer to it as that. No offense, it's Twitter. That's what it was born as. And to me, that's what it will always be. So there you go. And I do pay the $8 or whatever it is for that little blue check mark. So I should be able to voice my opinion. After all, he did say it was going to be the world's town square. I just call it Twitter. No offense. Anyway, have yourselves a great rest of your Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with me on Talking Weather. I do appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. I've already talked about that, and I can't wait, like I said, to introduce you to our Follow Friday guest, as well as see what's going on with Jen Naramore in her search for greater information related to tornado history. All right, let me kill the video, and then we'll do the audio. I am Mark Sudduth, Talking Weather. Good to see you. We'll do it again tomorrow.